Here I'll briefly explain about the historical emergence of critical discourse analysis in the realm of media studies, or we can say how, historically speaking, media studies benefited from critical discourse analysis studies and its toolkit. Frankly speaking, in media domain, Faircraft believes that the influence of culture study is more prominent, is more identifiable as compared to other forms of social knowledge or social studies. So, uh, people working or developing critical discourse analysis and its toolkit uh, got a lot of impetus from culture studies. And similarly, media studies also benefited a lot from these sociologically cultural studies, and a lot of research on media in media studies is based on the perspectives they got from these cultural studies. However, we still have some voices who think that cultural studies may not be that prominent in media studies, and they believe that culture studies have not been especially prominent in CDA and sociologically cultural studies, and therefore CDA and these cultural studies as independent disciplines have existed quite separately. But uh, to cut this debate short, we can say that though the scholars working in both fields of knowledge have been benefiting from each other's knowledges, but as a kind of methodological toolkit, they probably fallen uh, uh, would have not fallen that particularly together in the previous century. But in the contemporary century, we can see in various studies these two fields of knowledge have been benefiting from each other a lot. CDA emerged through the work of various linguists, and or the people who were working in the field of linguistics. So primarily speaking, CDA as a discipline of knowledge or a methodological resource developed within the discipline of linguistics. And most of the philosophers, even who we can call the proponents of critical discourse analysis or critical discourse studies, they were either uh, uh, graduated linguists, or they were influenced by linguistics through their research work and the research work of others. And their philosophical lines also merge with the field of linguistics. The scholarly habitus of critical discourse analysis attuned primarily to the theoretical and analytical concerns uh, of, uh, of the discipline. All these people who worked for the benefit or worked for the promotion of or the proposal of various aspects of critical discourse analysis, they appear to have benefited from their field of knowledge, the basic field of knowledge, which is linguistics. One of the plausible reasons for the popularity of critical discourse analysis among media scholars in by the advent of the century after 2000 was its currency as an analytical toolkit, because this this particular critical discourse analysis has developed its own toolkit by that time, and therefore the people working in the field of media studies could easily make use of that toolkit, and they could easily tell others what kind of methodology they were using to analyze a certain media discourse or certain kind of media material. So uh, the popularity of critical discourse analysis techniques in media studies can roughly be explained based on pragmatic reasons, and it can be said that a ready-made availability of methodological toolkit was probably one of the reasons why CDA became popular among people working in the field of media studies. Conversely, given the negative stereotypes associated with the concept of discourse, we might say CDA researchers needed to proactively establish credibility among political economy researchers. So, though people working in media studies took a lot of benefit from CDA and welcomed it in various aspects, however, the people working in the specific field of political economy, maybe as a separate discipline or within the broader domain of media studies, they were quite skeptical of various uh, tools of CDA, and they were also skeptical of the concept of discourse because they thought it can be a subjectively oriented concept, and the interpretation we get through CDA may be based on people's personal choices than on any objective analysis. That was quite a debatable point, which came very prominent in various studies. But however, as I said, this is an arguable point, and many people working in the domains of critical discourse analysis probably would have better answers to refute this kind of uh, criticism on critical discourse analysis. So, Fairclough's valorization of the Marxist concept of the dialect was therefore rhetorically significant because it signaled a desire to avoid the charge of discursive reductionism, and this a kind of love for uh, the term dialect, and which later on was also interpreted as by some people as discourse, was probably was looking into some kind of answer to to define how a discourse can be, what a discourse can be, and in what ways this can be socially constructed. The work of Richardson was also important in this regard, especially in the field of TDA and also in the field of media studies. Richardson was one of the most cited people in these studies, and Fairclough also developed his notion of language of new capitalism based on Richardson's works, and it also helped us in developing various terminologies. Fallon has therefore suggested that in order to understand what CDA aims at, probably we need to understand CDA's founding rationale. And by understanding the founding rationale of CDA, we probably would be in a better position to to explain how this can potentially be used to a maximum level in various fields of study, including media studies. And it's obviously its founding rationale is the one which comes to us through its founding philosophers or its founding proponents, and they believe their wish to formulate an analysis of language and social life that went beyond the controversies about the status of discourse in different fields. So it's not about what discourse constitutes. Obviously, that's one of the basic questions. But how discourse is constructed through the social life, has effects on social life, is also very important. So, knowing the power of discourse within a society, its effect on its social life is also equally important. And that is one of the key aspects of critical discourse analysis that can be very helpful in understanding and analyzing various kinds of discourses, or you can say data, in media studies.